everyone, and welcome to another edition of Behind the Small Business Podcast with me, once again, Kevin Dandino, as your host. As always, this is brought to you by Centennial State Insurance Agency. So if you are looking for a personal or commercial quote of any kind, reach out to us. We'd be more than happy to get you set up and help you out with getting a quote there. Today, I have a longtime friend of mine, somebody who's known me since high school, Henrique De Almeida, founder and owner of the Drum Set Coach Academy. Henrique, how you doing today, buddy?
How you doing, Kevin? Nice to see you, man.
It's always a pleasure to see you. It's funny, like, we go a long time without seeing each other, but it's so good just to reconnect with you and hear about all the things you're doing down there, and it's just gonna be a fun time talking to you, bud. So
yeah, I just saw you that 3 days ago.
Yeah, he's down there all the time
for a show. Yeah,
that's great. And I know you got some more coming up too, so we can definitely talk about that, because I know I'm going to want to get down there and see some. But let's rewind the clock a little bit, man. I know you've been doing drums and everything for a long time, lifelong musician, and so kind of take us back a little bit to where you were, kind of in the Air Force and you were doing giving drum lessons. I know that's when we met. But what got you to the point of like wanting to actually commit and run a drum studio?
Yeah, so when we met, I was on the Air Force Academy band, working for the Air Force as I was active duty full time. And thanks for your service too, because I know you.
Oh, thank you too, sir.
some years, but basically, after September 11, everything changed. I had to deploy like everybody else into Iraq, Afghanistan, Kyrgyzstan, all that stuff. And I heard of an opening at the Berklee College of Music, which is my alma mater. I went there when I was in college in summer 88. I started and I graduated. It took a long time for me to graduate because I ran out of money, but eventually I graduated in mid 90s. And then I received a scholarship for a master's degree with Southern Miss. But the Air Force, I was in the Air Force for 13 years, but I heard this opening at the Berklee College of Music, a very famous drummer among rock and rollers. His name is Mike Mangini, and he plays on a band called Dream Theater. And some people, they have a great following, but a lot of people don't know. But you can Google it, Dream Theater. He resigned abruptly, a position open, and I applied, and they get go to a whole process of interviews, and I ended up being one of the finalists. And it was me, the drummer for the show, The Voice. The drummer for John McLaughlin, the drummer for Billy Joel, and somebody else. Anyway, I got the gig, and I separated from the Air Force. I was a professor there for 13, 12 years, whatever it was. And I loved the job. It was amazing. But, work full time, which is amazing salary, amazing benefits, and amazing status, which I don't really care about that part, but I love the freedom that I had, that a full professor designing courses and teach young people. That's my passion. I did that a lot before that in small scale, but not at the scale of Berklee College of Music in Boston, because I think when I left, just the percussion department alone was 750 students.
Wow.
So but it was a lot of work. I bought a house outside Boston because it's impossible. I didn't have $1 million to buy a house in Massachusetts. Right?
Exactly.
But the commute was not good. 2.5 hours. If I went on a Sunday, it was 45 minutes.
Sure.
But it's commute in the hours. I was there about 7 o'clock in the morning, practice for a few hours, and then teach 10 to 11, 11 to 12, 12 to 1, lunch break 2 to 3, 3 to 4, 4 to 5, 5 to 6, office hour, divisor hour, Anyway, so I was trying to figure out a way that I could have more control of what I was teaching. Philosophies, colleges nowadays are spreading out to, when a student apply to college and they pay this just ridiculous tuition, they get all those classes that they don't want to take it, like environmental does, and that, a lot of political classes that has nothing to do with the major, like what they call an extension of liberal arts, which is funny because at some point on the meeting, the provost and the president was going to the department meetings asking us what would be a suggestion for solution to lower student debt. They
Hmm.
didn't like what I said. Get rid of liberal
No,
arts.
I'm sure.
Make that optional liberal
Right.
arts. And then the tuition would really be core. Whatever major you are, you take those majors. But he
Yeah.
didn't like that. Anyway, this is just one of the factors. So the hours,
Sure.
the lack of control of what I say, what I teach,
Hmm.
and just like uh, teaching on a school at that level, the bureaucracy and the emails and the amount of red tape for everything you want to do, because it's such a big institution. So I kind
Yeah.
of got burned out. I took a year leave of absence, came back to Colorado Springs, and opened this studio to be a temporary thing while I was taking my leave.
Hmm.
And this thing just blew up. I start teaching more and more and more. And then the pandemic hit,
Right.
and then they wanted me to be full-time professor online. It was perfect. But once I tasted being control over everything and having all the decisions, it's just Eric and I, my wife and we have a
Hmm.
team, but it's a very small team. But the decision making is two people, and parking for free up front, and just taking control of 100% of the decisions.
Right.
I kind of like that. I don't have to have 50 emails. But that was kind of I mean, you can ask more questions, dig in more, but just the freedom of being my own boss and
Right.
making all the decisions was a risk. We had to take a leap of faith. When I
Exactly.
when
Yeah.
I told my peers and my boss that I was thinking about resigning, nobody believed me. They're very
Yeah.
concerned because nobody does that. Nobody
Sure.
leaves a secure. But I did that right before I went to them. I left the Air Force instead of
Right.
finishing to an end. It was a great decision. And looking back, God was very good to me. God really blessed me because in my family, because
Yeah.
I think was the best decision I made was to do that, to take that leap of faith, and it worked out. Our business grew 50% last year,
Wow.
and we are it's hard to own your own business.
Yeah.
I know you do insurance, with health insurance and other things. It's
Hmm.
very risky. One day you go, man, this is awesome. What are we
Yeah.
doing? Oh, this is amazing. Oh my gosh, with that, it's like a
Yeah.
roller
Roller
coaster.
coaster. Yeah.
But I wouldn't I wouldn't change anything. It's a learning process. We're still learning. We opened
Yeah.
the online school, the drumsetcoach.com in 2017 when I was still at the college.
Hmm.
And I can talk about that, why we did that, the online school. But the brick and mortar school we opened on the spring semester of 2019. That's
Okay.
kind of 5 years ago, right? Something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. 5, 6
And
years. Yeah.
yeah, and we are now, the last time I checked the numbers, we are over 7,200 sessions.
Wow.
So it's a lot of teaching. You know, we teach
Well,
about, yeah, go ahead.
no, I do want to ask you about that, because I had my mom on one of the podcasts earlier on in her piano studio and
Yeah.
talking a lot about the online stuff that she does and provides. I think going back to before COVID, that wasn't really a thing, and so what brought you to have that insight of kind of doing something like that before the world was like, oh, we have to
Yeah,
do this
I,
now?
I actually, I was very prepared. I hate to say this, man, but during the
Yeah.
pandemic, we did more money than ever before.
Right.
While
Yeah.
everybody was unemployed and the college shut down, we thrived because I was teaching on Skype. Nobody knew about Zoom. Zoom didn't
No.
exist. But I
Nope.
was teaching on Skype even before I went to Berkeley. Like, I don't know how long, but I became a professor at Berkeley in 2011, but I was already teaching Skype, which now compared to Zoom was really bad if you think about it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So I had the know-how and I had clients already. So to switch to Zoom was a learning curve
Yeah.
because it's a different platform. But the whole infrastructure of tuition, the whole business aspect of online teaching was already in place during the pandemic.
Right.
But now one thing that's really unique about our school is I became a course designer for Berkeley College of Music. So I designed some courses for the college, And I designed some of them. I taught myself. Not only I
Right.
designed it, but I taught. So my first course that I did with them, which was a book also, they got 92% of royalties and I got 7%. So I thought
Wow.
that was a little bit oppressive. So after that, all the courses that I designed, I self-published
Yeah.
myself. And I took those with me. So
Yeah.
right now at the drumsetcoach.com, people from all over the world, we have students from Switzerland, uh, Panama, Russia, Ukraine, Germany, you name it. They can take college courses with me,
Hmm.
real college courses that I actually taught in college in front of people in a classroom,
Sure.
online because I own it for a fraction of the price. But it's not a credit, it's not a credit.
Right.
But that's okay. The biggest gigs that I never did a tour or a gig that somebody said, "Hey, can you show me your degree?"
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Unless you want to get a job teaching college, is more competitive if you have your degrees. But to get the skills that you need to have
Right.
to be a professional musician, you don't need to go to college for that, although
Yeah.
it's a great
I,
network. But
I would say anybody that watches you perform for more than 30 seconds, there's no need for a degree. Like
yeah, I don't
it's
regret it.
no, of course not.
But my degree's in jazz composition. Actually, it's not in drumming. And
Right.
but to go back to what I was saying, so we
Sure.
offer real college courses that people can take just a regular semester. So we have spring, summer, and fall, and they are 16 weeks. And the classrooms, I keep it small, maybe 4 to 6 people on
Hmm.
Zoom, and we teach that way. And another thing that I never saw around here is,
Yeah.
you come to the Drum Set Coach Academy, the brick and mortar, we can teach beginners. We teach beginners that never
I was
play
gonna ask about
drums,
that.
and then we teach people that are currently touring and have Grammys. Like, we work with Mark Walker, which is the drummer of Michel Camilo, Paquito de Rivera, Arturo Sandoval. He's a professor at the Berklee College of Music, and
Wow.
he's one of our students. We teach Bill Gibson, the drummer for Hugh Lewis and the News. You watch those
Mm.
Back to the Future movies.
Yep.
He's with me now for 5 years with us, taking classes. We do consultations with Dave Garibaldi, the drummer of Tower of Power, who became a teacher here himself. He now teaches
Wow.
online courses and in person. He's gonna come the last week of June, and for summer camp, and you can spend a whole week with one of the best drummers that ever. He's literally a legend. Like, all my
Yeah.
heroes, like Dave Wacko, Steve Smith, Vinny, they all credit David Garibaldi as one of the influence. And he came last year. But anyway, so it's a big. I mean, we teach people with Grammys, and we teach little Johnny who never played drums
Right.
before. I have an
Right.
assistant who does that. So the range is large.
So I want to ask you that because it's something that I've always wondered. Going back to when I started taking lessons from you. I mean, I'd only been playing for a handful of years. I was all self-taught, amateur, but so very much a beginner in a lot of ways. And just seeing, how much I learned from you, and you were able to make such a positive impact on, me as a person and my drumming abilities there. But then you also have the other extreme of working with all these big name professionals that anybody can recognize. How do you approach those kind of extremes when it comes to your teaching style? Because I think maybe some people out there maybe wanting to get in drumming or looking for a teacher, and that might seem a little overwhelming to kind of hear of a guy of your magnitude and your talent and skill, to be like, is he really going to want to spend the time teaching me, or is this kind of a good fit for me? Like, how would you approach that, and how do you approach teaching those two extremes?
My approach to the whole teaching thing is, I believe that everybody, people ask me, somebody asked me the other day on an interview, actually, do you think that everybody can be a great drummer? And I said, I don't believe everybody can be an amazing drummer, but what I do believe is everybody, God gave a gift to everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody has a gift. I give you an example. I cannot put
Yeah.
the oil on my car. Okay, I cannot
Right.
change the oil. I have this. I have no skills outside drumming. I'm not a handyman, but I think God gave everybody a different gift or different gifts.
Yeah.
And I truly believe that everybody has the potential, if they find out what those things are, that they can become amazing at it. So my whole approach to teach drumming is actually, in my faith, I'm a Christian. God wants you to use your gifts, to amplify it, to share
Mm-hmm.
it. He doesn't want you to bury you on a hole and don't do
Right.
anything with it. So I believe it's a gift. So my teaching, my school, always has always been a ministry for me, because
Mm.
as you know, we both did martial arts,
Yep.
and with my faith, and also I was in the military. I put the military discipline with the karate, Japanese philosophy, and Christianity on a blender. And when I get a student, I use the opportunity that I'm teaching you drum set to teach you
Yeah.
some skills that if you don't have, you're gonna fail on anything. I give you an example. I teach students how to develop discipline, humility,
Yep.
patience, organization skills, faith on
Mm-hmm.
themselves. Don't I mean the list is a larger list, because when a student, let's say you are a total beginner, my approach is like, I'll get this lowest level task for them to accomplish. So for you to get an explore certificate level 1, so you're not zero, you need to play one song, you need to
Mm-hmm.
play one snare reading, and you need to do a drum solo by yourself.
Right.
Those are very simple things.
Right.
And when you do that, you go on the stage and you do a recital with the other guys. You play one song.
Mm-hmm.
You read one snare drum lesson, you do a little drum solo. That's like going like this, a baby step. But when
Yeah.
they do that, we make a huge deal. You're gonna
Sure.
feel like you receive a degree. We got a certificate, we got some prizes. You play in front of they need to play in front of at least 10 people, but usually it's packed here. We have a jazz room
Right.
here, it's 30 seats, people applauding, they see all the because the whole thing is like, years ago, I used to ask the student, interview the students, are you going to practice? Are you going to have the
Mm-hmm.
discipline? Are you going to have the patience? Are you going to have the humility to understand you're not going to be great in one sitting? You're going to have to
Right.
go to the process of perseverance, which is actually biblical again. The
Yeah.
book of the Gospel of James talks about that, which apply to drumming. He says, you must let perseverance finish its works.
Right.
Think about
Yeah.
that. You have to let perseverance finish its work. What mean? You can't
Mm.
quit. You
Yeah.
only after the process of practicing, when you don't want to be organized, consistency, a great motivator. What Denzel Washington has great speeches about motivation. He talks
Yeah.
about consistency, doing every day a little bit. So by the time they do this recital here and I hand the certificate, I got my answers without talking to them.
True.
They manifest it physically. So when I'm teaching drums, my approach to teach drums, I don't really, you talk about my level, I don't look at student as uh you are beginner, you are advanced, you are
Sure.
mega star that's touring. I look at them as equals to me in the human level, on a creation level. So I just meet
Hmm.
them where they are, and my job is to teach them those other skills. Of course, they came here for drumming, right? So,
Right.
but I teach them how to teach themselves and how to grow themselves. I remember you when I was when I was what do you call considered taking you of a student. One thing
Mm-hmm.
that helped make my decision, first of all, I met your mom and your dad, and they're great people, so that's
Yeah.
one great thing.
They are.
But one thing that right away helped me make a decision, yeah, I'm gonna, because I can't remember how old you were. You like a kid, like high school?
15. I was like, yeah, early high school.
Well, you were doing martial arts.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I don't know if you had a black belt yet or not.
I think I just had gotten my first one just about the time I started. Yeah.
That right away I connect because I said, because it's I don't like stereotyping, but I have numbers, I have
Right.
statistics, right?
Yeah.
Everybody that I taught that did martial arts, and I did martial arts. I have two black belts, one in
Hmm.
Shotokan karate and one in Goju Ryu. And Max, you know Max, my
Yep.
older son, 2 weeks ago he went to Massachusetts to get his seventh degree use black belt, but because he's gonna turn 17, they gave him a fourth degree black belt. And my
Okay.
14-year-old has a black belt. So I totally, when
Yeah.
your dad said, because I made, did questions, I don't know if you did Boy Scouts or not, I don't remember. But
No.
and he said that you want to be a cadet. And at the time I was in the Air Force, right? So right away I
Yeah.
said, okay, this guy already have the discipline because he didn't quit. He finished. So that, and everybody that I taught that did martial arts did a lot better than everybody else because of that. Because as you know, what martial arts did you do? Remind me.
Shotokan. Yeah.
Shotokan. So you you and I know very well that Shotokan is from Okinawa, from Japan, and there are a lot of teachings when you do Shotokan that has nothing to do with punching and kicking, none of that. The philosophy that
Yep.
goes with that. So that helped me say, okay, this guy already know how to, respect. He already know how to respect the teacher. I know all the protocols of a dojo. For
Mm.
people who are
Right.
listening that doesn't understand that, there is a lot of protocol, almost like the military. You don't just walk. There is all kinds of things involved. That's not even the karate thing, right?
Yeah.
So and you did it. You are a great student because of that. So my approach to teach drums and drumming or music is a holistic approach where I really, if you sit on the drums and you play, and I sit on the drums and I play, and somebody else sit on the drums and play, the same drums that's on the stage is gonna sound different.
Right.
Why is that? Because Kevin is playing the drums.
Hmm.
Henrique's playing the drums. The drums is
Yep.
just plastic and metal, and it's an instrument. So
Exactly.
when you hear somebody playing drums, you are hearing a sonic picture of
Hmm.
that person's expression.
Yeah. That's
So,
true.
so you really need to work on you and
Right.
what you want to do and how you want to do and why you do it. If you sit on the drums and you have a guy that is thinking, "Man, I'm gonna show everybody how amazing my skills are on the drums."
Hmm.
So it's gonna probably sound loud and fast and impressive and flashy and all that. If you got
Right.
somebody else sitting there and say, "Man, I'm gonna use all my skills to make this band sound the best that I can," and it's gonna sound different. If you see somebody sitting on the drums that's really angry, it's just angry with the world and frustrated, and they
I was
want
a teenager with a drum set once. Yeah, I know.
it's good therapy. So it's like figuring out what is the intention is
Yeah.
and help them to do that, or even show them there is other things. So but it's like not all about the music, but helping them you know better themselves and help them to
Sure.
achieve what the goals that they want to achieve.
No, I think that's great to hear, and I'm really glad I asked that and you explained it that way because you know people are going in with the mindset of I want to play the drums, but then they walk away with so much more. You're talking about the having the faith in themselves to be able to do these things, baby steps, like getting on a stage and performing in front of any number of people for some individuals is a really big deal, right? Like that is stage fright is a thing. And they have to overcome that. Um,
Yeah.
and I also, just everything you encompass in that, I think just puts together a well-rounded drummer. Um, and so I also want to ask about, the styles that you teach, because honestly, for those who don't know you, you play everything and you play everything incredibly well. And somehow you mix things together and it makes it sound incredibly well. So, what, for people who are like, well, I want to just focus on rock, or maybe I'm into jazz, or kind of what stuff do you teach? What do you prefer to teach, or just anything like, things like that make it all, your signature, if you will.
Yeah, well, great question. It was not until recently that I had the luxury of only play what I want. And that started
Mm,
in 2011 when I got the gig as a professor at Berkeley. and I didn't really need gigs. And
Right.
then, so that's what, 13 years ago, whatever it is, 2011.
Yep.
I mean, 20, yeah, 20. So I only play now
13
what I
years.
want. But I remember once in a while, people, somebody was interviewing me and they said, man, it's so great that you study all those styles and you were able to play Brazilian, Afro-Cuban, big band. I played with David Ellefson from Megadeth. That's heavy
Yeah.
rock. I played with Gloria Stefan. That's Latin pop. I
Yeah.
did big band. I did Brazilian, Afro-Cuban, jazz trios. But the reason, to be brutally honest with you,
Yeah.
I came from I'll be 60 in August. I come from a world that didn't have internet,
Hmm.
no iPhones, no YouTube, no iTunes. There was I I'm one of those guys that still got the tail end of touring, where the model was you record a LP with a big star, and the company, the label, have a tour, international and national touring, to promote the record, to promote
Hmm.
record sales. That doesn't
Exactly.
exist anymore. You go on the
No.
record store, and if you want to, there is no internet, right? And also, I still got the tail end of studio work, like doing demos for people, doing records, doing television commercials,
Hmm.
jingles. So I made a living on the beginning of my career just playing the drums. Now,
Right.
you know, running this little school here, although it's small, running this online school and running this school, I barely have time to practice, because it's like administrative business,
Hmm.
curriculum, exam. It's like running an office. I could if hire somebody just to do that, and he's a full time.
Yeah.
You know, but
Yeah.
the reason I played everything, first of all, I was born in Brazil, right? So I grew up listening and playing Brazilian music and Afro-Cuban music, but I was listening to rock and jazz and playing everything. And then when I went to Boston, to Berkeley College of Music, Berkeley has still to this day a tremendous amount of international students. So I got a chance to play Afro-Cuban with Cubans, Brazilian music with Brazilians. I
Yeah.
played big band with a lot of guys that play with Buddy Rich, So I played in a
Ho,
lot of
ho,
big
ho,
bands.
ho.
Yeah, I
There you
played with
go. There you go.
Wayne Oz was the first trumpet for Buddy Rich. I played on his big band. I played with Phil Wilson. That's the guy who wrote "Mercy, Mercy, Mercy" for Buddy Rich.
Yeah.
Greg Hopkins, the guy who wrote
Jeez.
"Not View" for Buddy Rich, and I played with Lynn Biviano. And then I play Latin with, I played with Victor Mendoza, Dave Valentin, which is a Grammy winner, So I played, but what I was saying was, I am ADD. I played that because if I didn't play, I didn't eat, right? So
Right.
I was a session. I was never like a star part of a band. I was a hired gun.
Sure. Sure.
So when people make those calls, like I give you an example, Terry Lynn Carrington is a multi-Grammy drummer. She played with Al Jarreau and Herbie
Hmm.
Hancock. Uh, this is a good story. She came to my office one day to make copies because I had a copy machine at Berkeley. She goes, "Hey, I recommend you to Gloria's people. They're gonna call you." I said, "Gloria who?" She said, "Gloria Stefan." And I act like really cool. Oh, cool, thanks. I
Yeah.
closed the
Yeah.
door and I called my wife. Holy crap! But those examples. Here's a good example. You show up to a rehearsal. They put the charts. You got to play. I had
Yeah.
to play. So I show up on studio. Back on the day, you show up on the studio, you don't know what you're going to play. It can be
Right.
Afro-Cuban, Latin, can be I don't know what they're going to put in front of me. So I had to study and play all the styles that
Hmm.
not all the styles. Nobody can play all these styles, but I play.
Right. Of course.
I he's a great lesson for everybody, even if you're not a drummer. What I did was I look at my situation.
Exactly. Yeah.
If you're a chef, a cook, a mechanic, you don't need everything. Okay,
Sure.
you need to look at your situation. That's what I did, and I figure out what do I need. You
Yeah.
know, what do I need? If you're gonna have a food truck on a football game, you're not gonna need fish head soup. You know, look at your
No, it's
situation. You're gonna need the burgers, hot dogs, whatever, right?
yeah, yeah,
So I look at my situation and I figure out, even Afro-Cuban music, what is the styles that they constantly asking me to play? That's not
sure,
all the styles. It was mambo, cha-cha-cha, songo. They didn't ask me to play conga de comparsa, which is all obscure. Brazilian
right,
was bossa nova, samba, maybe
yeah,
baião. But there is so many Brazilian styles that's obscure that nobody's gonna ask me in America. Funk,
sure,
rock, jazz, blues, country music. So
hmm
I just saw what the customers, whoever was paying me, was asking me to do, and I just got better at that.
just
That's
got
why,
better.
yeah, that's why I play a lot of different styles. And I ask
Yeah,
students,
yeah,
I ask them, if they come to me and say, "Hey, I want you to prepare me for a college audition,"
hmm
or "Hey, I'm thinking about, getting more gigs." It's all, or somebody might say, "Hey, I just want to play drums for fun,"
yeah,
I just
yeah,
want to play on my house with my little band. So each request, if you're telling me that you're gonna go to college, okay, you're gonna need to read music, okay? You're gonna
yep,
need to they're gonna ask for rudiments on the LD. So it depends.
hmm
But my reason to play all these styles is, I had to, and now I just play primarily. I still teach a lot of different things, but I really never loved playing thrash metal or heavy metal. I didn't
yeah,
like that music, or the more obscure Afro-Cuban music.
sure,
Um, it got too dense to me, too many. As I got older, once I played with a band that has a conga player and a timbali player and a bongo player and bongos and percussion and trumpets. I just, for myself, for my own taste, was a lot
Mm,
of notes all the time. It was really
right,
loud too. So I kind of mellow out a little bit. I kind of stay away from, I mean, I like Latin jazz, but I like him more on, not as dense, more
right.
like, you know, but yeah.
No,
So
I know
now,
exactly.
now I play primarily jazz fusion, but not fusion, meaning that has a little bit of Brazilian, a little bit of Afro-Cuban, a little bit of New Orleans, a little bit of funk, but melodies and harmonies and, nice ECM
Yeah,
kind of stuff.
that's awesome, man.
So
That's awesome. Well, look, it's an incredible story you have, and I'm glad that other people are getting to hear and getting to meet you, and hear what you have to say. For anybody out there, I can attest firsthand. Henrique, top notch instructor, player. I joke around, Henrique, when I talk about you. I say, I remember you showing me like simple things, right, when I was first starting, and then you'd kind of just get this groove going, and before you know it, you're just rocking out, and not to like show off. That wasn't the intent of what you're doing. I think it was more like, this is what this can build into, right?
that's
This
right.
is the
That's right.
groundwork
That's
of
right.
like why you're doing this, and it flows into this. But then I joke up to people saying like, it's impossible for you to do something simple because you're so talented. Like, you can't hold back, you have to do more, right?
Well, think like that. If I hire you to build bricks, right?
Yeah,
And I say, we're going to bring this brick. That's pretty lame, right? You're gonna build a
right,
bunch
just
of bricks.
okay,
But if I
brick,
go like, now
great,
let's go outside, see that big building, this beautiful building are made
yeah,
of those bricks. No way. Yes, they are
yeah,
made of those bricks. Really? I said, well, and there is other things, but without those bricks, you can't build that. So I always like to show the students the why they practice what they
yep,
practice and what the potential is for them to
exactly,
do that. And it's like the whole music industry changed.
hmm
People
yep,
don't understand all the other hats that you have to wear nowadays besides just playing. So the difference
mm,
between now and back, so the bricks are changing, because now
right,
I do a little bit of publishing, self-publishing. We do the online school, we do the brick and mortar school, we
hmm
run a band, which is, instead of playing with 10 bands, I just do one band, my band, and the quality. It's like if you
yeah,
only do pizza, it's gonna be amazing pizza, right? Because you
should be
specialize.
anyway.
It's the best pizza in the world. So the
Right,
band is one band. So then that it's like what a lot of people don't understand, to do what we do here, Eric and I, you like an agent for the band, you have 5 members on the band, you have to schedule rehearsals, ticket sales, promotion, radio, interviews, booking, all that
Yep.
stuff. And then there's school, you got tuition, you got exams, you got the semester, you got recitals, you got certificates, you got to grade people, you got to, like, if you really care about people and you want to
Mm-hmm.
be on top of everybody that is with us, and we have editors, and we have guest artists, and we have contracts, and we have, booking tickets, flights, it's a lot of work. Erica
Yeah.
does a lot of that, but you
Sure.
have to have, the reason it worked out too is because she had, like, I don't know, 50, I don't know how many years of Mary Kay. I don't want to misquote, but she had many years of sales with Mary Kay, the cosmetic company, and
Yeah.
she was on marketing sales. And I really like the Mary Kay philosophy with the
Mm-hmm.
costumes, because before my wife got involved, my relationship with students were like, okay, you come to take your lesson, I teach you, and I don't think about you anymore. Now
Right.
it's not like that at all. We spend time saying, okay, what's the best class for this guy, what's his level, what's coming up. For it's almost like we are following your development and your growth, and you keep an eye of how things are with you. Are you, like, and Eric is great at
Yeah.
that. Sometimes people want to join a course
Sure.
that would be great for us to have more people that to sell the course, but we say that's not really the best for you right now. Maybe you should do that. So it's like the whole Mary Kay philosophy is really great about, giving you the best that we can give you so you can see the results,
Yeah.
and then everything else is a collateral benefit
Yeah.
that,
Exactly. Well, and to be honest, it's good to hear from any business owners, and several of them have kind of had, conversations like this where, look, the bottom line is the number one priority for any business is to make money. You don't have a business
yeah,
if you're not making money.
yeah,
But is that really the ultimate priority? And in someone in your position, you didn't talk about money at all, except like, look, yeah, we have to do it, and we want to fill seats, but we're going to be responsible about it. We're not going to put somebody in a position to fail.
yeah.
And you're
That's the
really
biggest.
analyzing.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because that's a big, man. That's what I get tormented about, because I'm not selling
Yeah.
shoes. I'm teaching people.
Yeah.
And I was talking to a producer about 3 years ago, and I love what he said, because we're doing a project for a big company, and I was telling him about my integrity and how I didn't want to do that, and because everything is numbers, right? I don't
Yeah.
want to have 30 people in a class. I really don't.
Mm-hmm.
I
Right.
make a lot of money if I have 30 people in a class, but
Sure.
I know for a fact, man, that if I have 8, you
Mm-hmm.
know, it's better for them. 6 is better for them. And
Yeah.
then we're talking about those videos. We do instructional videos, and I don't like the whole. I'm not a clown. I can't do. People dress as a clown and they
Yeah.
have gimmicks. My teachers are not like that. I studied with the best teachers in the world: Gary
Yeah.
Chafee, Alan Dawson, Freddie Gruber. They're not
Jeez.
clowns. They're not
No, not at
clowns.
all.
And he said people want to be entertained, and he said, man, do what's in your heart, man. Do your integrity. If you want to sink with that ship, he said,
If you want to sync with it, like go
sink
for
with the ship. I was like, wait,
it.
wait a minute.
That's not. I don't go that extreme.
Yeah. So it's a struggle, because
Yeah.
I cannot say, it's all about the money, and then be lack of integrity towards the student. I wrote one of the courses that I wrote for Berkeley was about polyrhythms.
Mm.
For the people that are listening, polyrhythms are very advanced rhythms. It's very intellectual. It's very difficult. And
Yeah.
this particular publisher called me and said, "Hey, man, this is too hard. You gotta water this down if you want us to put it out, And I said, hey, man, I'm teaching at Berkeley College of Music. I have to have range, because on one class I might
Mhm.
have a beginner, intermediate, and we have highly advanced students. He said, we both know that the whole goal is to sell as many books as possible. And I said, I
Mm.
beg to differ.
Time out.
I
Time
said,
out.
I said, I'm not doing that, man. I have to have range in my
Yeah.
class. And then he said, well, it's too long. Reduce the pages. So what I did, I edited the book in a way that the content was the same, but I would say, if I had, let's say if I had 4 ways to do the exercises, that's
Hmm.
4 pages, right?
Right.
I took 3 pages out, but did as I said, can do that this way. This is other ways you can do that and explain. So I put the pages where they wanted, but I didn't change anything.
Exactly. Right.
And they didn't want to.
Loophole.
I just put it out myself. But he's an
Sure.
example that I'm telling you that I fight for the
Yeah.
integrity of it. And I can say this to any business owner. Of course, you have to make money, otherwise you shut down, right?
Yeah.
But man, when you have quality, do quality. Don't I don't like, I love food, because I
Hmm.
like to cook and stuff. And my wife and I, we don't care. Well, we are responsible, but
Right.
when you go to a restaurant, and
Hmm.
it's expensive, but the
Hmm.
service was amazing, the food was amazing, that justify, right?
Exactly.
You might feel a little you got a plan to go back there, but
Right.
when you have a bill that is expensive and the
Hmm.
food was horrible and the service was horrible and you're like, you gotta be freaking kidding me.
I'm paying for that. Yeah.
I know it's all, you gotta make a profit, but man, you know I don't know about the whole cutting corners. Give people options, say, hey,
Yeah.
if you want to have, do smaller portions, sometimes you have the options on their own, especially steakhouses now. They do that. Hey,
Yeah.
you can have that or that. But to compromise quality for profit, that's something that we really don't do that. You know.
Yeah. Well, it's a great philosophy, and again, anybody out there looking for lessons, Henrique would be my number one recommendation. So to
Okay.
close this out, Henrique, let everyone know kind of how they can find you, any other information they want you want them to know about you, and any other upcoming events or anything.
Yeah, I'm gonna say one more thing here.
Yeah,
Support local business, support small business
please
because
do.
they small business doesn't have the whole corporate BS. My son was
Hmm.
working on a franchise to save money to buy his car. He loved it when it was a franchise, and then when
Right.
this company went back to corporate, man, he started, was very different.
Yep.
So when you support local business, I support local mechanics, local restaurants, local, family business. So if you want to support family business and small business, in my opinion, you got more integrity and we're going to take care of you because we love our customers. It's like family. So if you want to
Yeah.
learn more about us, go to thedrumsetcoach.com, and that's online. And we are the brick and mortar school is the Drum Set Coach Academy in Palmer Lake. But all the information, the address and everything, we're on Highway 105 near the police station and the fire department. Great people around
Yeah.
here. We are in Palmer Lake, Colorado, near Monument, and it's the
Hmm.
Drum Set Coach Academy. Information about everything we do is on the drumsetcoach.com. I don't know if you're going to have links, and
Yep.
if you visit the drumsetcoach.com, we have recitals here, we have summer camps, we have live performances, and we just love what we do, and we care about the people that we serve. So,
Yeah. No, it's very clear, and I hope that other people can see that from you as well. And again, I'll attest to that all day long.
thank you.
And that's not, I won't put my name out there for just anyone. So,
Well, thank you. And congrats
um,
on your podcast, man.
well, thanks. It's taken off, and we're getting a lot of good advice. And it's really fun to hear. We're talking to people who have like bookkeeping businesses or roofers or contractors, right? But then we also have like a piano teacher and a drum set teacher, right? And just a wide range of it, and all the experiences and stories you all are sharing. There's nuggets that everybody can take away from. And so. That leads me into exactly, thank you, first off, Henrique, for joining me today. It's been great talking to you. And then for all the business owners out there, if you are interested in coming on the podcast, or if you know of a business owner that would like to be on the podcast, please reach out to us on our Facebook page, the Centennial State Insurance Agency page, or the Facebook group for the podcast. Be more than happy to get you set up with a future episode here, joining me on and getting your name out there. So. Also, Centennial State Insurance Agency, thank you again for supporting us and sponsoring us. So reach out to us if you want any kind of quote for commercial or personal lines. We'd be more than happy to set you up there as well. But with that being said, Henrique, you take care of yourself. Good, sir. I appreciate your time today, man.
Thank you so much. God bless everybody. Thank you.
Awesome. You all take care, and we'll see you next time on another episode of Behind the Small Business.